What would you do if your partner's parents invited themselves to live in your home indefinitely, treated you like an intruder, and started a daily war over the thermostat? In today's story, the protagonist's choice is a masterclass in how to reclaim your own home. My story starts back in March, when my boyfriend Liam's parents decided they wanted to come wait quarantine out at our apartment. Now, let me be clear about how this went down. They never asked. Liam's mother, Karen, called and simply told me they were already on their way and that I needed to prepare our spare bedroom for them. A knot of dread formed in my stomach instantly. I was already apprehensive about them staying with us because, to put it mildly, Liam's parents have always been extremely rude to me. They are hypercritical of every single thing I say and do, from the way I cook to the shows I watch. They're also massive control freaks who carry an overwhelming sense of entitlement, believing they should always be in charge, no matter whose house they're in. So, as you can imagine, things became miserable right off the bat. They subjected me to daily verbal abuse, dictating what I could and couldn't do in my own apartment. They were, in every sense of the word, the worst house guests imaginable. Out of all the issues, the battle over the air conditioning caused the biggest and most relentless debacle. Where I live, the weather has been a sweltering 85 to 90 degrees almost every single day. Normally, I keep my air conditioning set to a comfortable 70 degrees, but when they started complaining immediately, I tried to compromise. I turned it up to 75. This was already getting uncomfortably warm for me, but I was willing to sweat a little to try and keep the peace. But that wasn't good enough for them. They didn't just want the air off, they wanted the heat on, and they would turn it on every single chance they got. It became a maddening routine. I'd go to bed in a room that was a reasonable temperature, only to wake up in the middle of the night drenched in sweat, gasping for cool air. I told them to stop countless times, begging them to just leave the thermostat alone. This reveals Karen's greatest fatal flaw, her insatiable need for control, which ultimately sealed her fate in my home. She couldn't stand that a simple machine wouldn't bend to her will, and she couldn't stand that I was the one who paid the bills for it. Yesterday, after 2 months of this, I finally cracked. Before leaving for work, I marched to the thermostat and placed about 10 pieces of heavy-duty duct tape over the control panel. On top of the tape, I stuck a note with a message written in thick black marker. Do not touch the thermostat while I am at work. At 6 p.m., I walked through my front door and was instantly hit by a wall of air. It was a suffocating, stagnant heat, somehow more humid and oppressive than the sweltering air outside. My eyes went straight to the thermostat on the wall. The duct tape and my note had been aggressively torn off and lay crumpled on the floor, and glowing on the digital display, in what felt like a personal insult, was the number 98. They had the heat on 98 degrees. A switch flipped inside me. I stormed to the guest room and, without knocking, pushed the door open. I was beyond caring about pleasantries. Why could you not follow the one simple instruction of do not touch the thermostat? I said, my voice shaking with fury. This is my home. I am tired of you saying rude things to me. I am tired of you treating me like a child and creating your own rules for my apartment. You either need to start being respectful towards me and learn to accept my boundaries, or you need to go back to your own house. Karen looked up at me from the bed, her face a mask of indignation. You have no right to barge in here without knocking, she sneered. That was not only an invasion of our privacy, but you need to take the attitude out of your tone. I've dealt with much bigger bitches than you before. She then launched into a tirade that lasted for a solid 30 minutes. I just stood there and tuned her out, letting the words wash over me. When she finally ran out of steam, I looked her dead in the eye, my voice suddenly calm and clear. Get out, I said. Now, my boyfriend, Liam, is angry with me. He's mad because I couldn't just let them have their way one more time. He actually wants me to call his mother and apologize. As I listened to him defend them, I felt a cold clarity. For 2 months, I had politely asked his mother to stop treating me like dirt in the very home I was letting her live in for free. For 2 months, I had watched my own boyfriend refuse to defend me, allowing his mother to say and do whatever she wanted. It was in that moment that I felt the weight of a question that many people online would later ask. Why do you even stay with your boyfriend? He's clearly choosing his mother over you every single time. Another commenter's wisdom echoed in my head. I would seriously consider a future with him if he's not willing to support you now. It will only be worse in the future when it comes to his parents. Liam made a foolish decision at that moment. demanding an apology from the victim instead of the abusers, completely unaware that this single act would push his own relationship to the brink of collapse. I was trying to see their perspective, but it just felt completely unreasonable. So, I decided to post my story online. And if the internet determined I was the asshole, I promised myself I would call Karen and apologize. Later that evening, Liam and I had a very long conversation. I admitted I had posted the story online and even showed him screenshots of the comments. He was silent for a long time, and I could see he was getting emotional. Finally, he looked at me, his eyes filled with a fear I hadn't seen before, and asked if I was showing him all this because I was planning on leaving him. No, I told him gently. I wasn't going to just dump you without giving you a chance to work through our issues. If you're willing to try. I explained that I understood his past trauma with his mother, but that it didn't give him a free pass to enable her abuse towards me. He finally broke down and agreed he was in the wrong and should have stepped in to defend me. He also apologized for even suggesting I should apologize to his mom. I told him I wasn't going to force him to choose between me and his mother, but that for our relationship to be healthy, he needed to start therapy and confront her about her behavior. I promised I would stand by him and support him through it, but it was a journey he had to take on his own. I also laid down a new, hard boundary. His parents were no longer allowed to stay with us. Ever. To my surprise, he immediately agreed, admitting he'd been miserable these past 2 months too. He even mentioned that he would discuss the possibility of cutting off his family entirely with his therapist, as it might be what's best for his own mental health. He then told me he would call his mother and demand she apologize to me for her behavior. Honestly, that was a huge step for him, and it showed me he was truly willing to work on his issues and save our relationship. It seems like we're going to be okay, as long as he follows through on his promises. In the end, this ordeal taught me a powerful lesson about boundaries and self-respect. Protecting your peace is not being rude, and a true partner will stand with you, not against you, when you do. So, let me ask you, have you ever been in a situation where you had to set a hard boundary with family? How did it turn out?